Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Shalom and good evening. Peace and blessings. Shalom and barakut to the entire house, all 12 tribes, the entire house of YAHUAH'S. Shalom and good evening to the elder brother, Yehuda, commonly called Judah. Shalom and good evening to the younger brother, Ephraim, or Ephraim. Shalom to the former stranger, the former foreigner who was formerly estranged from the everlasting covenant, but having received the Ruach of adoption, the Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of Yahushua HaMashiach, and whereby having been engrafted into the olive tree, who is Yahushua, who is Yahshua, and now whereby becoming a fellow citizen, and whereby now becoming privy to the same everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance that was given to Yahshua and to Yahshua alone. Peace and blessings to you. Shalom and barakut to you and your entire house, wherever you are listening under the sound of my voice on this most Kadosh evening. Indeed, every evening is a Kadosh evening in which the Master has made. Shalom to you. Shalom to you and your entire house, to the whole house of Yahshua, all 12 tribes, wherever you are listening under the sound of my voice. We welcome you to YAHUAH'S Remnant Midweek Gathering. We welcome you. We welcome you. We welcome you to YAHUAH'S Remnant Midweek Gathering, wherever you are listening under the sound of my voice, whether it is here live or whether it will, albeit, be later on. If you who are on YouTube have a desire to fellowship with us live, either on our fourth day gatherings or either on our Shabbat gatherings, fourth day, otherwise what man calls Wednesday or Wednesday, or our Shabbat gathering, and otherwise what men call Saturday. If you have a desire to fellowship with us live, once this video has been uploaded to YouTube, there in the description box of this video will be an email address. If you feel led, please use that email address to reach out to us if you have a desire to fellowship with us live. Even if you do not have a desire to fellowship with us live, we would still indeed love to hear from you. If this is your first time listening to YAHUAH'S Remnant, and you are asking yourself the million-dollar question, what is or who is YAHUAH'S Remnant? Well, we'll start by telling you we'll start off by telling you what and who we are not. We're not some church. No, we're not a church where, if you do your research there in the etymology of the word church, you will find a word, you will find the name Kirky, sometimes pronounced Circe. Who is Circe or Kirky? Kirky is the Greek goddess of sorcery and wine, who's known for getting men drunk and turning them into unclean, abominable things. This word invaded the scriptures sometime around 310 to 321 AD. It invaded the scriptures via the consent and via the desire of the Kirky, of the church, the fourth beast, otherwise called Rome, who is the progenitor of the church. Rome being the same entity who slew and who killed William Tinsdale. Who is William Tinsdale? William Tinsdale was the first to translate the scriptures into the New Testament, what you know as the New Testament, the Beit Kadashah from the Greek and Hebrew text. When William Tinsdale came across the word kahal and the word ecclesia, he properly translated these words as assembly and not church. Well, Rome, the progenitor of the church, the fourth beast, the Kirky, the great whore, Babel the Great, when they came across this information and found out what William Tinsdale had done, they proceeded to tie him to a stake and strangle him to death and burn him and burn him on the stake because he properly translated the word kahal and assembly, and kahal rather, and ecclesia into assembly, whereby taking the power of the false church away from them. We're not some church. We're not some 501c We're not some 501c organization. We're not some camp, and we're not some ministry. We simply are who we are, and that is Yahuwah's remnant assembly in this season, of whom he is awakening from the four corners of this earth, sealing us with the seal of the living Elohim, breathing the breath of life into us, pouring out Ruach into us, writing his name upon our foreheads, saving us from the hour of trial. This remnant people is none other than the house of Yahudah, his elder son, whom in accordance with Revelation chapter 3, beginning at verse 7 through 12, that he desires to save from the hour of trial those who have very, very little strength, but who have guarded his word of belief and have not denied his name. We are his covenant people. Yahuwah's remnant is his covenant people. We are his covenant people, of whom he is gathering in this season from the four corners of the earth. We are the house of Yahudah. We are the elder son. We are the elder daughter. The first to be brought to Mount Zion. The first to be joined. To be rejoined to him in marriage. Ephraim, if you have been listening at any length, Ephraim, the other house, will be joined into marriage, or will be joined, or the marriage rather will be renewed with them after the great distress. This is the text. This is the scriptures. I'm not going to go over that tonight. I'm not going to recap or look back on that. If you have a desire to have this understanding, I encourage you, if this is your first time, to start at least searching for the Ancient Path Part 54 and work your way up. You got a lot of catching up to do, but we have no time to slow down. We must look forward. If this is you, if you've heard something that has stirred you and you have a desire to join us live, then perhaps you too are Yahuwah's remnant, because his sheep hear his voice, and another voice they will not follow. We welcome you nonetheless to Yahuwah's remnant fourth day gathering, midweek gathering, what men call Wednesday. I am Dawood Ban Yahuwah, and this is my Aisha, otherwise what you may know as wife, Asha Yah.
Shalom.
Shalom to you. Good evening. Peace and blessings. Shalom and barakut to you and your entire house. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. There is a word from the Master this evening for his covenant people. His covenant people once more been the house of Judah, who was never divorced from covenant from him. Not unlike Ephraim or Ephraim, who was divorced, who was given a certificate of divorce and sent away, put away in the year 722 BCE, where Ephraim has since that time been scattered amongst the nations, and where now Ephraim has become every nation, tribe, tongue, and people. Ephraim has become the completeness of the nations. Ephraim is whom the robe given to Yahusuf, otherwise called Joseph. Ephraim is a shadow of that robe. Ephraim now is a coat of many colors. He is a coat of many colors. He is the elder son. He is the younger son, rather. And Ephraim, for the most part, is still walking in the folly of his flesh. Ephraim carries the name of his grandfather, Yahuwah. His name is Yashar'al. Thus, the northern kingdom, the northern 10 tribes, is sometimes called Ephraim or Ephraim. It is sometimes called Yashar'al. It is sometimes called Shamarum. This is Ephraim. This is the northern 10 tribes, whom in accordance with the scriptures, out of distress will be saved. In accordance with Jeremiah chapter 30. In accordance with Revelation chapter 48, verse 19, when Yahuwah, Jacob, is passing down the barakah, the blessing of firstborn. He passes the firstborn blessing of barakah upon the head of Ephraim. Ephraim then takes on the name of his grandfather. And there in verse 19 of Genesis 48, it is declared that Ephraim would become the completion of the nations. There in Revelation 7, beginning at verse 9 through 17, coming out of the great distress, we find there Ephraim coming out of the great distress of every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, having washed their robes, having purged and been purified in the fires of the great distress, having been made ready to receive the bridegroom. Having been made ready to receive the bridegroom. That number there in Revelation 7 is a number that cannot be counted. is a number that cannot be counted, coming out of every nation, tribe, tongue, and people of the house of Ephraim, coming out of the great distress, being rejoined in the covenant with the master. There at that point, 2 sticks. In accordance with Ezekiel chapter 37, these 2 sticks, the house of Judah and the house of Ephraim, would then become one again. And we will once again become one nation. All 12 tribes under one sovereign, Yahushua HaMashiach. Until then, there is still a divide. And his covenant people remains the house of Judah, the house of Yahudah, of whom he has declared he desires to keep from the hour of trial. But he's given a number for that people. And that number is 144,000 of the house of Judah. Just a remnant. Just a remnant of the house of Judah. Well, you ask, well, what about the rest of Judah? The rest of Judah, the rest of Yahudah will come out with Ephraim. Because much of Judah, much of Yahudah is still acting like Ephraim, walking according to the folly of their flesh and not according to the Ruach. You understand here, listen to the master. Ephraim is still walking as children of men. Ephraim indeed is still walking as children of men. But understand this, Yahuwah wants us to walk as sons of Elohim. As sons of Elohim, not as children of men, but as sons of Elohim, as full-grown sons of Elohim. 144,000 of them worldwide that are going to be saved from the hour of trial that is soon to come upon this earth. He's been speaking to us from the subject of true belief and how true belief separates the righteous from the unrighteous, and how true belief is going to save our life in this season, and how the greater separation has begun. Indeed, belief is the ancient path. Belief is the ancient path, because if you truly believe, then you will obey the master, and you will abstain from every unclean matter that displeases him, and you will align yourself with his righteous Torah. You will come back to the Torah, and you will abstain from every unclean thing without compromise. And if we do so in this season, the master has promised that salvation will come to our house, that salvation will come to visit us, and we will live. And we will live. Tonight, the master wants to pause briefly on that, and Yahuwah willing, will pick back up on searching for the ancient path this coming Shabbat, Yahuwah willing. So he just wants to pause there just briefly and speak about another very, very important matter, a very, very important matter that perhaps will also save your life. That perhaps will also save your life. Let me preface that with this. When Aisha and I, when we first came out of the Christian church, there's one thing, there's at least one thing that I can say to you that the Christian church has gotten right. For the most part, that there is one thing that they have gotten right. And I'll explain what I mean by that. And that is praise and worship. That is praise and worship. There's one thing that they have gotten right for the most part, and that is praise and worship. Now, we now have the understanding that not all of the praise and worship that comes out of Christianity is authentic praise and worship. We now have the understanding that the gospel and the gut spell and the God spell is indeed a spell, and there is a spirit behind the music. There is a spirit behind the music, but some of the music coming from Christianity is authentic praise and worship, coming from a place of authentic praise and worship. Nevertheless, one of the things that they have gotten right over the years, that's a better way of putting it, because this time here is something else. This time here is filth. There's filth and uncleanness everywhere. There's stench everywhere. There's hardly anywhere where you can go to avoid filth and stench. It's everywhere. So over the years, over a collective body of work, one of the things that the Christian church has gotten right is praise and worship. where if you like my Aisha and I, when we came out of the Christian church, we looked everywhere and we could not find praise and worship anywhere. That there were just not even a handful of people. I can count on one hand of maybe 2 people that were in heavy rotation. Right, little one. There was like 2 people on heavy rotation, and we could find no one else. We could find nowhere else. We could not find praise and worship anywhere that spoke of the name and that called upon the name of Yahuwah and Yahusha and that was authentic praise and worship. We could not find it. We could not find it anywhere. But now, some years later, there has been an explosion. Overnight, there has been an explosion. And if you have the discernment of a gnat, you understand that this explosion is strategic, and it is strategic of the adversary. It is not all good. It is not all good. It is strategic, and it is of the adversary. Hear him? It is of the adversary, because this may very well save your life. It is strategic, and it is of the adversary, and it has become something of a stench. It stinks, it's filthy, and it is not of Yahuwah. It has become somewhat of an industry, mimicking even the R&B industry and the rap industry. It has mimicked it, where you have beefs going on in the so-called rap Hebrew Israelite music industry. You have beefs. Instead of drawing your gaze and drawing your attention to the master, they're drawing your gaze to themselves. They're leading you to themselves. They're more concerned with platforms and accolades of men than drawing you to the master. And if they're not drawing you to the master, it's wrong. Music must draw you to the master. Preaching, proclaiming, teaching must draw you to the master and not to the person. If it's drawing you to the person, whether it's his teaching, proclaiming, or otherwise, or music, then it's wrong. It is of the adversary. It is of the adversary, plain and simple. It is of the adversary. So the master has sent me by with a word for his people. If you're taking notes this night, the title of this message is Beware of the Spirit Behind Music. Beware of the spirit behind music. Beware of the spirit behind music, because indeed there's a spirit behind music. Either that spirit is the spirit of Yahuwah, or that spirit is the spirit of the adversary. If it is the spirit of Yahuwah, then that music will draw you to Yahuwah. You better beware. Hear him, please. Because this is a season and a time in which that greater separation is going on. And the adversary is trying to steal your gaze. He's trying to steal your focus. He's trying to get you distracted. And he desires to get you distracted long enough so as to cause you to be on the other side of the dividing line of the 7+ billion people who have been reserved for wrath. Who have been reserved for wrath. I draw your attention again that 144,000 true believers worldwide are going to Mount Zion. So if there's only 144,000 true believers worldwide going to Mount Zion, does that mean that the spirit behind most music is of the master? I pray you understand that it is not. That most music that is being brought forth is not of the master. That spirit behind that music is the spirit of the adversary. It is the spirit of Hasatan. And whether you know it or not, it has an impact on you. Either subliminally or otherwise, it is having an impact on you. Some of you can't go through your day without listening to music. Where's the quiet time sitting at the feet of the master? This is what he desires. He desires for you to choose the best thing, the best part, to sit at his feet and not be concerned busying yourself with other matters. He desires for you to sit at his feet to choose the best thing, the best matter. Using the analogy of the scripture between Mary and Martha. He desires for you to choose the best thing, the best matter, to sit quietly at his feet. Only in this way can you truly hear him. Can you truly hear what thus says Yahuwah? 144,000 true believers worldwide. So now, understanding that 144,000 true believers worldwide who have the spirit of the living Elohim, some, very few of whom, are producing music in this time. Perhaps one in every million person you meet. So what does that say about the music that you're listening to? Beware of the spirit behind the music. Beware of the spirit behind the music. This is what the master sent me by to speak to his people about this night. Beware of the spirit behind the music. Many of you know the story of Nimrod. Many of you know that Nimrod is the 13th from Adam, 13th being the number of rebellion. He is identified as the man of lawlessness, the man of sin. He is the man of perdition, spoken about in 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, and spoken about in Revelation 13. It identifies Nimrod as the man of perdition. He is of whom Hasatan is going to occupy as the Antichrist, as the Anti-Mashiach, when he comes in a short time. Nimrod is known as the son of rebellion, the man of rebellion. He was the first after the flood to draw the whole world into paganism, into idolatry. More specifically, the whole world worshipped him. They worshipped him as Elohim. They worshipped him as a sun god. He was worshipped as a sun god. His wife was worshipped as a fertility goddess, and his son, Tammuz, was worshipped as the resurrected Nimrod, as also a sun god, a sun deity. Under Nimrod founded the city of Babel. Yes, he did, and the earth is still Babel. The earth is still worshiping Nimrod. How so? As he founded the city of Babel and began to build the tower of Babel, confusion. A lot of this music is indeed confusion because it comes from Babel. And many of them are just babbling. That is all that they're doing. They're merely babbling. Is confusion, to confuse you and to draw you into the valley of oh no, where you're going to be declaring, oh no, how did I end up here? We've got to keep our nefesh, our minds clean and pure and sober. We must remain sober-minded because our adversary, the devil, goes to and fro across the whole earth, searching, looking like a roaring lion, seeking of whom he may devour. So as they began under Nimrod, who was being worshipped as a sun god, to build the tower of Babel, trying to build a tower for two reasons, saying that if the flood waters come again, that we'll build this tower high enough so that if the flood waters come, we will not be overcome by them again. Secondly, we want to build this tower up into heaven, up into Shamayim, so that we can go to war against Yahuwah, our mighty one, against their mighty one, against him. We want to go to war against him and defeat him. You know the story. It's in Genesis if you read the book. Yahuwah came down and saw what they were doing. He knew what they were doing. He confounded their languages and destroyed the tower of Babel. And when he confounded the languages of men, men then began to speak in diverse tongues, different languages. And each one went to the other of whom they could understand. Like languages gathered together in different parts of the earth. And they gathered together as nations and tribes and tongues. But when they were split and they went to different nations, tribes, and tongues with their different languages now, they took the worship of Nimrod with them. They took the worship of him with them. But now in different nations and different tribes and tongues and people, they began to call him different names. Baal, Malak, Zeus, Woden, Gulden, they Horus and Osiris. They began to call him by different name. Same God, same Nimrod, different name and different languages. To this day, they call him Jesus the Christ. Same mighty one, Different name. Different name. Ultimately, this is Hasatan getting the worship because Nimrod is his son. Nimrod is his son. He is his son. He is his only begotten. He is his son. Understand the duality here is Yahuwah came in flesh as his only begotten. Hasatan is going to come in flesh. He's going to indwell the body of his only begotten son, Nimrod. Nimrod. But I want to talk to you about another one of those names. So ultimately, it is Hasatan who is getting the worship through Nimrod. It is he. He doesn't care what you call him. It is Hasatan who is getting the worship. Another one of those names that Nimrod assumed in the land of Greece is Apollo. Is Apollo. I draw your attention again that this is Hasatan. Hasatan is getting the worship. He is ultimately Hasatan. But another one of those names is Apollo. Who is Apollo? Apollo is the god of music, the god of knowledge. He's the god of music and the god of knowledge. Now it should come full circle when we talk about, some of you are old enough to remember Showtime at the Apollo, Truth in Plain Sight. Apollo is the god of music, and he's the god of knowledge. Ultimately, Apollo is Hasatan, who he is, the mighty one of music. He is the mighty one of knowledge. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is the mighty one of music, and he is the mighty one of knowledge. He is the spirit behind the music. He is the spirit behind knowledge. I say again, if the teaching, the proclamation, or the music is only drawing you to the person, you must recognize the spirit behind the teaching, behind the knowledge, behind the music. You must recognize the teaching behind it, because if the spirit of Yahuwah is behind it, then you're going to be drawn to him. You're going to be drawn to your knees. You're going to be drawn to your face. You're going to be drawn to the threshing floor, to him, and not to the person. If Hasatan is behind it, you're going to be drawn to the person, and ultimately you're going to be drawn to him. That's the plan, to draw you to him in worship, to draw you to him, to cause you to worship man, to cause you to worship him rather than Elohim, and to lead you to the valley of oh no, where you're going to be declaring, oh no, how did I end up here? Apollo is the god of music and the god of knowledge. And there's no shortage of men who are pursuing knowledge in this season, showing that knowledge is their mighty one, showing that gnosis is their mighty one. There's no shortage of people who are making music now, whether it's rap or the song or R&B type song, many of whom, 144,000 worldwide, most of whom the spirit of Hasatan is attached to them. Spirit of Hasatan is attached to the music. Yes, he is. He is attached to that music, and he is using them to lead you astray. You must beware of the spirit behind the music. Don't be complicit with what you're listening to. Do not be complicit or led astray with what you're listening to. You must beware of the spirit behind the music. And in most cases, with all the music across this flat plain earth, Hasatan is the spirit behind the music. Yes, he is. There is very few in which Yahuwah is the Ruach behind the music. Very few, because we're only talking 144,000 worldwide who are going to be saved from the hour of trial. So you must, the master has sent me by to warn you about beware, to beware about the spirit behind the music. And not only is there an overflux of music, and an overflux of knowledge, and an overflux of videos being produced, music videos being produced, and knowledge being produced. There are professional type videos being produced in this season. Professional, if you're old enough to remember VH1, professional BET, professional like videos being produced in this season. Designed to draw men rather to the person to turn men away from the master, and rather to draw men to them rather than to lead them to Elohim. And the master has given us warning. He says through his servant Paul, I beseech you, brethren, by the compassion of Elohim, that you present your bodies as a living offering, kadosh and acceptable unto him. For this is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed. Do not be conformed. Do not be conformed. Do not be conformed to this world, but be renewed by the transforming of your minds, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahuwah, your Elohim. If you are watching any type of music video, beloved ones, and they are conformed to this world, where you are more drawn to them and you are more drawn to the world in which they are promulgating in that video, this is not of the master. This is not of the master. The master's music is pure. It is pure. It is undefiled as his temples, as the house of all is pure and it is undefiled. His music is pure and it is undefiled, and it will draw men unto him. Even in the producing of the music videos, it will draw men unto him and not the people and not the person. Beware of the spirit behind the music. Beware of the spirit behind the music. If they are conforming to this world in their videos, this is not of the master. This is not of the master. So the master has sent me by, and he has also commanded us to test every spirit. To test every spirit, understanding that there's a spirit now behind the music, and that spirit is Hasatan. He is called Apollo, and we must test every spirit. We must test every spirit to prove it, and to prove that it is of Elohim. We must prove and test every spirit, lest we be led to the valley of Ono. Give us that precept, little one.
We have Revelation 9, 1 through 11.
Do you have 1 John?
Yeah, I think it's 1 John 4 and 1.
Yes, ma'am.
I got it.
Go ahead, read that little one.
Beloved ones, do not believe every spirit, but prove the spirit, whether they are of Elohim, because many false prophets have gone out into the world.
Barak Yahuwah. So we are to prove and test every spirit. Now this goes on to say that anyone who does not profess Yahusha is not of the master, but they are of the Anti-Mashiach. But understand this, much of the music that you listen to, that you allow into your ear gates, many of those who are producing this music and who are singing the lyrics and who are rapping these lyrics, do not believe that Yahuwah is Yahusha. And you must believe that Yahuwah has come in the flesh, in the person of Yahusha. It's not enough to say that Yahusha has come in the flesh. You must understand and believe that Yahuwah has come in flesh in the person of Yahusha, lest you diminish what the Father has done. And there are many who will call you a devil if you declare that Yahuwah is Yahusha. And many of those are producing movies, they're producing music, rap and R&B type music or otherwise. And they are teaching. They are teaching, and you are allowing them into your ear gates, not discerning the spirit behind the music, not discerning the spirit behind the knowledge of the teaching. You must discern the spirit behind it, or that spirit will come to reside in your house, because you are being complicit with it. You're being complicit, and that spirit is the spirit of Hasatan, who is otherwise known as Apollo, who is the god of music and the God of knowledge. Let's go ahead and read Revelation 9, little one.
Okay.
Revelation 9. Revelation 9. Revelation 9. Go ahead and read Revelation 9.
1 through 11.
Verses 1 through 11.
And the fifth messenger sounded, and I saw a star from the heaven, which had fallen to the earth, and the key to the pit of the deep was given to him. And he opened the pit of the deep, and smoke went up out of the pit, like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun was darkened, also the air because of the smoke of the pit. And out of the smoke locusts came upon the earth, and authority was given to them as the scorpions of the earth possess authority. And it was said to them that they shall not harm the grass of the earth, or any green matter, or any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of Elohim upon their foreheads. And it was given to them that they should not kill them, but to torture them for 5 months. And their torture was like the torture of a scorpion when it stings a man. And in those days men shall seek death, and shall not find it. And they shall long to die, but death shall flee from them. And the locusts looked like horses prepared for battle, and on their heads were crowns like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. And they had hair like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. And they had breastplates like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots of many horses running into battle. And they have tails like scorpions and stings. And in their tails is the authority to harm men 5 months. And they have over them a sovereign.
And they have over them a sovereign. Read.
The messenger of the pit of the deep.
The messenger of the pit of the deep.
Whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon.
Whose name in Hebrew, is Abaddon.
But in Greek he has the name Apollyon.
In the Greek he has the name Apollyon. He is Apollo. He is Apollo. It is said, most of you know of, or some of you rather, I can't assume that all of you. Some of you know of CERN. Some of you know of CERN, located somewhere in Switzerland, I believe, that who have been trying to tear between the veil between light and darkness. It is said, and I cannot substantiate it or confirm it, but it is said that CERN is built on an old temple of Apollo. It is said that Apollo, at the temple of Apollo, the temple of Apollo rather leads to the underworld, or leads to the pit. It leads to the pit. Apollo is that sovereign. Satan is that sovereign. He is the destroyer. Abaddon means destroyer. He is the destroyer. He is death. He is the mighty one of music. He is the mighty one of music. He is the mighty one of knowledge. You know, just like in Christianity or otherwise, most people would not purposely worship Hashatan. You tell the average Christian that on Christmas Day you are celebrating the birthday of the sun, you're celebrating the birthday of Nimrod, and on your normal birthdays you are worshiping the sun because your birthday is predicated on the position of the sun at your birth. So you're worshiping the sun, you're worshiping Hashatan. You tell the average Christian that, they will not believe it. They will not believe it. The art is deception. The art is deception, and the name of the game is worship. The name of the game is worship. He will get that worship in whatever way that he is able to deceive you into giving it to him. Into whatever way he can use to deceive you into giving it unto him. He will use it. He will use it. He's very, very deceptive. He is the God of music. He is the God of knowledge. And he is using music in this season to get the worship. He is using music even in the so-called Hebrew Israel, especially here. And this is why the Master has sent me by tonight. He is getting the worship. This worship is not going to Yahuwah. It is going to him. Because the agents that are bringing forth this music are not of Yahuwah. They're not of him. Discern the spirit behind the music. You cannot give ear to everything. You cannot give ear to it. This is a time of great deception. This is a time of a greater separation. And the adversary has beguiled us long enough in Christianity. With the celebration of birthdays and Sunday Shabbats and Easter and Christmas. And the eating of unclean things. He's beguiled us long enough. Do not let him beguile you now through the worship of this music, through worshiping these people that he's using, who are not pointing you towards the master, but rather you're pointing you towards themselves. Even these teachers, these so-called teachers who have exploded in this season, they're pointing you towards themselves. Recognize the spirit behind the knowledge and the spirit behind the music. It is designed to deceive you and to cause you to worship him. This is the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is all about worship. It's all about who you worship. As Exodus 13 declares, do not forget the Torah. Let it be written on your foreheads, between the frontlets of your eyes and on your hands. The adversary, who is a copycat, the mark of the beast is between the frontlets of your eyes and on your hand. This is about worship. And as that was Exodus 13, our Revelation 13 talks about that. It's about worship. He wants your worship. He wants your worship. And he's not going to come out plainly to do it. He's going to deceive you. He is the God of music. He's the Elohim of music and of knowledge. Men call him Apollo. Men call him Apollo. He is Hasatan. He is Hasatan, and he's out to deceive you. He's out to deceive you to get the worship. And if you are worshiping him and being deceived, he's coming for you. He's coming for you soon. He is coming for you. He's coming for all who worship him. Whether knowingly or unknowingly, he's coming for you. Death, destruction, Abudun, the destroyer, destruction is coming soon. To get all who have been deceived. To get all who have been deceived. He has deceived all mankind. And he does it slyly. He does it slyly, and he's even infiltrated the way, the walk. He infiltrated the way long ago. Long ago, and the great falling away began long ago. The great apostate began long ago when the church was founded. When the church was founded by the church, by Kirky, by the fourth beast, Rome. When Christianity invaded the way, the great apostate began. Beware, little ones. Beware of the spirit behind the music. He's very sly and very deceptive in the way that he gets his music and the way that he gets his worship. And this is another way that he's used. 144,000 worldwide. 1 in every million person that you meet. There is an explosion of music. An explosion of music. And most of it is not of Yahuwah. Most of it, the spirit behind it, is the spirit of Hasatan, because they're drawing the worship to themselves. Give us another precept, little one.
Romans 12, 1 through 2.
I'll give us another one.
Ezekiel 28, 12 to 18.
Ezekiel 28, verses 12 to 18. Ezekiel chapter 28, verses 12 to 18. Listen very carefully. Apollo is Hasatan. He is the God of music. He is the God of knowledge. It's been this way since the beginning. And his deception, his games, have not changed. They have not changed. He's still the same sly serpent. He is still the same sly serpent that he was in the garden. He's still the same sly. He's still the same serpent of old, that grand serpent of old. He is still the same old serpent, up to the same old tricks. He is still the mighty one of music. He is still the mighty one of knowledge. Men call him Apollo. He is the destroyer. He is death. He is destruction. He's coming to destroy you. He's coming to destroy you. And he will use any means necessary to do it. Beware of the spirit behind the music. Ezekiel chapter 28, verses 12 through 18, beginning at verse 12. Read, little one.
Son of man, take up a limitation for the sovereign of Zor, and you shall say to him, thus said the Master Yahuwah, you are sealing up a pattern complete in wisdom and perfect in loveliness. You are in Adon, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was your covering, the ruby, topaz, and diamond, beryl, shoham, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald, and gold. The workmanship of your settings and mountings were prepared for you on the day you were created.
He was a priest. He was a priest. He was a priest who was accustomed to leading in worship. He was a priest. The workmanship of his settings, the breastplate of a priest. He was not just a priest, he was high priest. He was Kahan Gadol. He was high priest. Come on, read.
You were the anointed cherub that covered.
You were the anointed cherub. Only the priest, the high priest, is anointed. He was the anointed cherub. He was the high priest. Read.
And I placed you. You were on the Kadosh mountain of Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
You walked up and down in the midst of stones of fire.
Mm-hmm.
You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created,
Mm-hmm.
until unrighteousness was found in you.
Mm-hmm.
By the greatness of your trade, you became filled with violence within, and you sinned. So I thrust you from the mountain of Elohim, and I destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Your heart was lifted up because of your loveliness. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I threw you to the earth. I led you before sovereigns to look at you. You profaned your Kadosh place by your many crookednesses, by the unrighteousness of your trading. Therefore I brought forth fire from your midst.
I need you to stop right there, little one, and read that from the KJV.
Okay.
I need you to read because I need them to hear some specific words. Go to the KJV and get that. And you can begin where you left off there.
13.
Okay. Rock Yahuwah, go ahead.
Okay. Thou hast been in Adon, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was the covering, the sardis, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, and gold, the workmanship of thy tabrets.
Listen, the workmanship of thy tabrets, or thy timbrels, or thy tambourine, or thy drum. Thy drums. He is the mighty one of music. It's always been that way. The workmanship of thy tabrets, of thy timbrels, of thy tambourine, of thy drums, of thy drums. He was the high priest that was accustomed to leading in worship, and he is now the mighty one of music and the mighty one of knowledge. He is the same one that introduced man to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He is the same one that introduced man to forbidden knowledge. He is the mighty one of knowledge, and he is the same one that introduced mankind to music. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is the same one that introduced mankind to music. Most music, he is the spirit behind it. He is the spirit behind it, and you must beware in this season of the spirit behind the music. He is very deceptive and clever. You must beware of the spirit behind the music. Most music is leading you to themselves rather than Elohim. Listen here. Listen, read, little one.
And of thy pipes was prepared in the day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the Kadosh mountain of Elohim. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. By thy multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of Elohim, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities.
Listen.
By the iniquity of thy traffic.
By the iniquity of thy traffic. Hear him. By the iniquity of thy traffic. He was puffed up. He was puffed up by his brightness. He was puffed up by his platform. And so by the iniquity of thy traffic, he indeed was guilty and is guilty of illegal trafficking, and so are those who are with him. So are many of those who are producing music of whom this spirit is behind. Guilty of illegal trafficking instead of trafficking the traffic of praise to Yahuwah. They are instead and are intercepting that praise for themselves. They are receiving the praise, and he's the spirit behind it. Even if it's knowledge or teaching, they are receiving the praise. They are guilty of illegal trafficking, no different than their father. No different than their father. You must recognize the spirit behind the music. You must recognize the spirit behind the music by the iniquity of thy trafficking. Read.
Therefore will I bring forth the fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all of them that behold thee.
Barak Yahuwah. Thank you, Master. And so we must recognize the spirit behind the music. We must recognize the spirit behind the teaching. Most are puffed up with knowledge. They're puffed up with themselves, no different than their father. And the motivation behind the music is him. The motivation behind the music is self-worship. This comes from him. This is illegal trafficking. This is not something new. This is something that he did. Instead of directing traffic to Yahuwah, he received it for himself. And the spirit behind most music, use discernment. If you have the discernment of a gnat, use discernment and recognize the spirit behind the music. If it's drawing you to the person, if it's not drawing you to Yahuwah, it's not of Yahuwah. It's of the wicked one. It is of the wicked one. Let's go to the very beginning. This is not a very long message. Let's go to the very beginning so that you understand, and so that you beware of the spirit behind the music. There's been an explosion, and for the most part, it's wicked. It's wicked as hell. It is wicked. It has become an industry where you got beefs among one another. Just like the rap industry, it's wicked. It's wicked and it's perverse. And you must recognize the spirit behind the music. You must recognize the spirit behind the music, lest you're led astray, because he's very sly and he's very deceitful. He doesn't care how he gets to worship, as long as he gets to worship. Let's go to the very beginning now, to the book of Adam and Kua. To the book of Adam and Kua. If you're on YouTube listening for the first time, it's called The Forgotten Books of Eden. The Forgotten Books of Eden, book 2. And we're going to be reading from chapter 20. If you're there on YouTube, it is The Forgotten Books of Eden. And we're going to be reading from chapter 20. For those of you who have the Sefer, it is the second book of Adam and Kua. And we're going to be reading from chapter 20. The second book of Adam and Kua. We're going to be reading from chapter 20. You've got to wake up, Yahudah. You've got to be as one grown. You've got to be as one grown. Your dependency can't be on music. I sing unto Yahuwah a new song. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with music, but you had better discern the spirit behind the music, lest you find yourself worshiping the wrong mighty one. Because in most music, the spirit behind the music is not Yahuwah. Recognize the time, recognize the season, recognize that this is the consummation of the times. Recognize that there is a greater separation going on. You want to be on the side of the greater separation of 144,000 separated from 7+ billion reserved for wrath. And we cannot afford to leave not one stone unturned. The adversary will receive worship in whatever way that he can. In whatever way that he can. The second book of Adam and Kua, chapter 20, beginning at verse 1. Come on, read little one.
After Cain had gone down to the land of dark soil, and his children had multiplied therein, there was one of them whose name was Ganun, son of Lamech the blind, who slew Cain. But as to this Ganun, Hashatan came into him in his childhood.
Listen.
And he made sundry trumpets.
Hashatan came into him in his childhood, and he made sundry trumpets. Read.
and horns, and string instruments, cymbals and psalteries, and lyres and harps,
read,
and flutes. And he played on them at all times, and at every hour,
read.
And when he played on them, Hashatan came into them.
And when he played on them, Hashatan came into them. He is the spirit behind most music. Hear him. Hear him. He is the spirit behind most music. And so the music is designed to draw you to him. Whether it's being drawn to the person, it doesn't matter. He doesn't care how he's worshipped. He's still getting worshiped. If you've been drawn to the person, if you're worshiping the person, if you've been drawn to him rather than Elohim, whether it's through the music or whether it's through the video, you're worshiping Hashatan. He is the spirit behind the music. If the videos that you're watching have conformed to this world, we're not to conform to this world. When Sha'al said, be all things that you may win some, he does not mean to conform to this world. He does not contradict himself. He went amongst the Greeks, he went amongst the Romans, but he did not participate in their orgies. He went amongst the people who were scantily clad, who were naked, who had no shame of nakedness. But he didn't behave that way. A friend of this world is enmity towards Yahuwah. If they're conforming to this world in these videos, it's not of Yahuwah. The spirit behind that music is the spirit of the devil. And he will get his worship in any way that he can. And he desires to do it most often through deceit, to deceive you. If most of you knew that you were worshiping him, you would not do it. Come on, read, little one. He went into the instruments. He is the spirit behind the music. He taught him music. He is the spirit behind most music. Come on, read.
So that from among them were heard beautiful and sweet sounds that ravished the heart. Then he gathered companies upon companies to play on them. And when they played, it pleased well the children of Cain, who inflamed themselves with sin among themselves.
Music did this. There's power in it. There's power in it to draw. There's power of suggestion. There's power in music. Music will call you to worship. Music will cause you to worship the wrong one. Come on, read.
And burnt as with fire, while Hashatan inflamed their hearts one with another and increased lust among them. Hashatan also taught Ganun to bring strong drink out of grain, and this Ganun used to bring together companies upon companies in drink houses, and brought into their hands all manners of fruits and flowers, and they drank together. Thus did this Ganun multiply sin exceedingly. He also acted with pride and taught the children of Cain to commit all manner of the grossest wickedness, which they knew not, and put them up to manifold doings which they knew not before. Then Hashatan, when he saw that they yielded to Ganun and hearkened to him in everything, he told them, rejoice greatly increased Ganun's understanding, until he took iron and with it made weapons of war. Then when they were drunk, hatred and murder increased among them. One man used violence against another to teach him evil, taking his children and defiling them before him. And when men saw they were overcome and saw others that were not overpowered, those who were beaten came to Ganun, took refuge with him, and he made them his confederates. Then sin increased among them greatly, until a man married his own sister, or daughter, or mother, and others, or the daughter of his father's sister, so that there was no more distinction of relationship. And they no longer knew what is iniquity, but did wickedly. And the earth was defiled with sin, and they angered Elohim the judge.
And the earth was defiled with sin, and music played a large part in it. The earth was defiled with sin, and music played a large part in it, just as it is today. Just as it does today. Music corrupts. Music causes you to worship this Elohim. This mighty one, he's not an Elohim. This mighty one of music, it causes you to worship him. And he has used it mightily. And he is now using it in this so-called awakening, as music now has exploded from the time that we first left the Christian church to now. It has exploded, and it has become wicked and perverse and unclean overnight. And you must recognize the spirit behind the music. You must recognize it. Come on, read.
Who had created them? But Ganun gathered together companies upon companies that played on horns and on all the other instruments we have already mentioned at the foot of the Kadush mountain. And they did so in order that the children of Shaph who were on the Kadush mountain
Hear
should
him.
hear it.
And they did so that the children of Elohim that were on the mountain, we're trying to get to the mountain. We're trying to get to Mount Zion. They're playing this for the children who are on the mountain so that they could hear it. Come on, little one, read.
But when the children of Shaph heard the noise, they wandered and came by companies.
They wandered. They got distracted. They became unfocused. And they wandered and came to investigate what the noise was. 144,000 worldwide. 144,000. That means that most of the music that is being promulgated is not of Yahuwah. It's not of Yahuwah. The spirit behind it is not Yahuwah. It is not Yahuwah. Come on, read.
And stood on the top of the mountain to look at those below. And they did this thus a whole year.
And they did this a whole year because of the music that Hasatan inspired, that he taught this man, that Hasatan inspired. Indeed, he is the mighty one of music. This is Apollo. He is also the mighty one of knowledge because he taught him things. He taught him knowledge. He taught him. And this music caused the sons of Shaph, the sons of Elohim who are on the mountain, who are on the Kadush mountain of Yahuwah, to lose focus and to gaze down at them as they began to play. Because it was the spirit behind the music that was drawing them. It was the spirit behind the music drawing them. Come on, read.
When at the end of the year, Ganun saw that they were being won over to him little by little.
By music. Read.
Hashatan entered into him and taught him to make dyeing stuffs for garments of divers patterns, and made him understand how to dye crimson and purple and whatnot. And the sons of Cain who wrought all this and shone in beauty and gorgeous apparel gathered together at the foot of the mountain in splendor with horns.
Now, listen. Now at first, that there were very few videos being made. Now there's an explosion of videos, professional type videos being made. So now he has your ear, and now he has your eye. All these beautiful apparel being conformed to the world. These videos, these worldly videos that are proclaiming the name of Yahuwah, but they are worldly videos. And that they're either drawing you to the world or they're drawing you to the person, whereby drawing you to Hashatan, but they're not drawing you to Yahuwah. They're not drawing you to him. And many spend all their days, all day long, perusing videos, perusing our music videos, just listening to videos instead of choosing the best part of sitting at the master's feet. And just as here on the mountain, the children of Elohim, I went away from that time of prayer and fasting. I don't know if you've read that yet, little one. They turned away from their time of prayer and fasting to gaze upon the children of Cain, to gaze upon the descendants of Nimrod, to listen to this music and to open up their eye gates to the beautiful apparel. The confirmation of the world. And what happened, little one? Come on, read.
And gorgeous dresses and horse races, committing all manner of abominations. Meanwhile, the children of Shaph who were on the Kadush mountain prayed and praised Elohim in the place of the host of messengers who had fallen. Wherefore Elohim had called them messengers, because he rejoiced over them greatly. But after this they no longer kept his commandment, nor held by the promise he had made to their fathers. But they relaxed from their fasting and praying.
But they relaxed from their prayer and fasting. They relaxed from sitting quietly at the master's feet. They relaxed from going to the threshing floor, because they would rather look and listen to music that made them feel good, that made their flesh feel good, that tickled the ear and pleased the eye. And they turned away from that intimate time on the threshing floor, from sitting at his feet, in lieu of listening to music, not understanding and discerning the spirit behind the music. Not discerning the spirit behind the music. And he is the spirit behind most music. He is the spirit behind most music. And so now they've entered, you were thirsty. If you've been in the way for a while and you came in the way, you know what I'm talking about. You came in the ancient path. You began this ancient path, and you may have come out of the Christian church and you're used to praise and worship. You come here and then there's nothing. Then all of a sudden there's an explosion. You begin to hear an explosion of music, and now there's an explosion of videos being made. They've been taught dying. To dye their clothes and to dye their skin. They've been taught dying. They played music for a whole year, and you went and that caused your gaze, that caused you to focus and to spend less and less time with the master. And after a year, he saw that they had began to be won over. Now he began to make videos. Videos that conform to the world. They're beautiful. The painting and dyeing of clothes in which the fallen ones taught to now I got your ear, now I want your eye. Now I want your eye. I want your ear gates and I want your eye gates. And I want you to be deceived as to the spirit behind the music. Come on, read.
And from the counsel of Nimrod their father, and they kept on gathering together on the top of the mountain to look upon the children of Cain from morning until evening, and upon what they did, upon their beautiful dresses and ornaments. Then the children of Cain looked up from below and saw the children of Shoph standing in the troops on the top of the mountain. And they called to them to come down to them.
Oh, listen to Sanballat. Listen to him. Come on out and meet me. Let's talk in the valley of Ono. Let's talk let's come down to us. Come down to the valley. Now music opened this door. The spirit behind the music opened this door. Come down and let us talk to you. Come down to the valley of Ono. Little known to them, they're going to be told, ain't no return from the valley of Ono. There is no return from the valley of Ono. 144,000 are going to Mount Zion worldwide. Those in the valley of Ono cannot go unless you hear the voice of the master now and you repent. You turn from the deception. You recognize you start to use the discernment of the net that the master has given you. Recognize the spirit behind the music. Recognize the spirit behind the teacher or the proclaimer. Recognize the spirit behind them. If it is not drawing you to Yahuwah, it is not of Yahuwah. Listen to Sanballat. Come down here to the valley of Ono with us. Come on, read.
But the children of Shoph said to them from above, we do not know the way. Then Ganun, the son of Lamach, heard them say they did not know the way. And he bethought himself how he might bring them down. Then Hashatan appeared to him by night, saying, there is no way for them to come down from the mountain on which they dwell. But when they come tomorrow, say to them, come ye to the western side of the mountain. There you will find the way of a stream of water that comes down to the foot of the mountain between two hills. Come down that way to us. Then when it was day, Ganun blew the horns and beat the drums below the mountain as he wont. The children of Shoph heard it and came as they used to. Then Ganun said to them from below, Go to the western side of the mountain. There you will find the way to come down. But when the children of Shaph heard these words from him, they went back into the cave to Jarad to tell him all they had heard. Then when Jarad heard it, he was grieved, for he knew that they would transgress his counsel. After this, 100 men of the children of Shaph gathered together and said among themselves, "Come, let us go down to the children of Cain and see what they do and enjoy ourselves with them." But when Jarad heard this of the 100 men, his very soul was moved, and his heart was grieved. He then arose with great fervor and stood in the midst of them and adjured them by the blood of Habal the just, "Let not one of you go down from this Kadush and pure mountain."
Do not go down, Yahudah. Do not be drawn away by the music. Recognize the spirit behind the music. Do not go down to the valley of Ono. Recognize the spirit behind the music. Discern the spirit behind the music and do not be led astray. Understand that he is the spirit at work in most of the hearts of men. That he is the spirit at work in most music. And he desires to draw you down to the valley. To draw you down to the valley of Ono where there is no way back. The valley of Ono means destruction. The valley of Ono means death. There is no way back from the valley of Ono. Come on, read.
"In which our fathers have ordered it to dwell. But when Yarad saw that they did not receive his words, he said unto them, O my good and innocent and Kadush children, know that when once you go down from this Kadush mountain, Elohim will not allow you to return again to it.
Elohim will not allow you to return again to it. You've heard his words. You've sat under his words. You've heard his words. Do not be deceived. Now, you've heard this truth today, this night. You've heard this truth. You now know the spirit behind most music, and you now know that he doesn't care how he gets to worship. As long as he gets to worship. You go down to the valley of Ono, there is death there. There is destruction there. And he's coming soon to gather what is his. 144,000 worldwide are going to Mount Zion. 144,000, and of that 144,000, I don't know how many of them that are making music. That's not many. There's not many. And so the spirit behind most music is the spirit of Hasatan. It is the spirit of Hasatan. If you've been drawn to them, if you've been drawn to man, if you've been drawn to the video, if you've been drawn to music rather than to Elohim, rather than to Yahuwah, then it is not of Yahuwah. If you've been drawn to the knowledge of man, the knowledge of the teacher, the knowledge of the proclaimer, and he's not directing you to Yahuwah, if he's not directing you to Yahusha, it is wrong. The spirit behind it is the spirit of the adversary. Arise and awake, lest you be led to the valley of Ono, where there is no return. Come on, read.
He again adjured them, saying, I adjure by the death of our father Adam, and by the blood of Abal, of Shaph, of Enus, of Canaan, and of Mahalalel, to hearken to me, and not to go down from this Kadush mountain. For the moment you leave it, you will be reft of life and of mercy, and you shall no longer be called children of Elohim.
You shall no longer be called children of Elohim,
but children of the devil.
But children of the devil. Most of them that are promulgating this music are children of the devil. Yes, they are. That is the spirit behind the music. Look, that is the spirit behind the music. Do not ignore his words. That is the spirit behind the music, and he will get his worship in every way, in whichever way that he can, preferably through deception. Come on, read.
But they would not hearken to his words.
But they would not hearken to his words, and many under the sound of my voice are not going to hearken to the master's words. Come on, read.
Canuk at that time was already grown up, and in his seal for Elohim. Be arose and said, Hear me, O ye sons of Shaph, small and great, when ye transgress the commandment of our fathers and go down from this Kadush mountain, you shall not come up hither again forever. But they rose up against Canuk and would not hearken to his words, but went down from the Kadush mountain. And when they looked at the daughters of Cain, at their beautiful figures, and at their hands and feet dyed with color, and tattooed in ornaments on their faces, the fire of sin was kindled in them. Then Hashatan made them look most beautiful before the sons of Shaph, as he also made the sons of Shaph appear of the fairest in the eyes of the daughter of Cain, so that the daughters of Cain lusted after the sons of Shaph like ravenous beasts, and the sons of Shaph after the daughters of Cain, until they committed abominations with them. But after they had thus fallen into this defilement, they returned by the way that they had come and tried to ascend the Kadush mountain.
No way back up. Come on.
But they could not, because the stones of the Kadush mountain were of fire flashing before them, by reason of which they could not go up again. And Elohim was angry with them and repented of them, because they had come down from esteem.
He turned from them, in other words. He turned from them because they had come down from esteem, because of music. Because of music. Because of music. Hasatan introducing music to the sons of men, to the sons of Cain, introducing music and introducing the dyeing of fabrics and the dyeing of the skin, and opening up the ear gates and the eye gates. And these Kadush people, these sons of Elohim, were drawn down to the valley of Ono, where there is death, where they became assimilated with the sons of Cain. And they, no doubt, I have little doubt that they married amongst them. They produced children amongst them. And amongst them they died. Where in the book of Joshua we find 700 plus thousand people who died in the floodwaters that came, the distress that came upon the floodwaters during that time. They mixed, they mingled, they assimilated because of music, and they died. And they died. And they died because of music. Because they did not discern and recognize the spirit behind the music. Not listening to the warnings of Yerad, the righteous one, his righteous Yerad and righteous Kanuk. Not listening to their warnings. To stay on the mountain, to turn away from this music, discern the spirit behind the music, discern what is at play here. He will get worship in whichever way that he can, preferably through deception, as he deceived them. And this deceit will lead to death. This deceit that will lead you to the valley of Ono will lead to your death. Discern the spirit behind the music. Discern the spirit behind the teaching, the proclamation, the knowledge. Discern the spirit behind it. Save your lives. Save your lives. Turn and discern the spirit that is at work here. Come on, read.
And had thereby lost or forsaken their own purity or innocence, and were fallen into the defilement of sin. Then Elohim sent his word to Yerad, saying, These thy children, whom thou didst call my children, behold, they have transgressed my commandment, and have gone down to the abode of perdition and of sin.
The wages of sin is death, and they died with the children of Cain. They died. They died with the children of Cain. And many of the house of Yehudah are going to be destroyed with the house of Ephraim. Come on, read.
Send a messenger to those that are left, that they may not go down and be lost. Then Yerad wept before the master and asked him of mercy and forgiveness. But he wished that his soul might depart from his body, rather than hear these words from Elohim about the going down of his children from the Kadush mountain. But he followed Yahuwah's orders and preached unto them not to go down from that Kadush mountain, and not to hold intercourse with the children of Cain.
Not to hold intercourse with the children of Cain. Do not mix with them. Do not mix with them. Recognize the spirit behind the music. Do not hold intercourse with them. Do not mix with them. Recognize the spirit behind the music, lest you be led to the valley of Ono, to the valley of death. Come on, read.
But they heeded not his message, and would not obey his counsel.
But they heeded not his message, and they would not obey his counsel. We're not going to continue to read in this. I encourage you, if you've never read this before, to continue to read past chapter 20. But this all occurred because of music. because of music, because of the mighty one of music, leading them into deceit, leading them into the valley of oh no. These are Pied Pipers, beloved one. They are Pied Pipers. They are charmers. Their music is very charming. It charms it because there is incantation involved, because of the spirit behind the music. Because of the spirit behind the music. When little one was still listening to music, in particular, one particular person of whom I will not call by name, little one used to like to skate in a past life, and here in a renewed life, sometimes she would still like to skate just to exercise, just to get some exercise. And she told me just today that there was one particular one whom she would listen to, whom calls himself a Hebrew, who sings and has a very large following. And she listened to him, and in her words, she said, "Oh, I can skate to this. I can skate to this." Barak Yahuwah, that the master convicted her about this music, and convicted her about him, and she no longer listens to this Pied Piper. She no longer listens to him. And the message to you, Yahuwah, is to beware of the spirit behind the music. There's deception everywhere, and he desires to cause you to lose focus. He desires for you to take your eyes off of the master during this season of a greater separation, and to be deceived into worshiping him, not understanding and discerning the spirit behind the music, not understanding it, that in most cases, many cases, that you're not worshiping Yahuwah, especially if you're drawn to the man. If you're simply drawn to the music and you're not drawn to Yahuwah, you're drawn to the spirit behind the music, and he will get his worship in whichever way, and however, in whichever way that he can. And in most cases, that is via deception. Thank you, Master, for your continued warnings to your people. It is my prayer as usual that your people, that they're hearing, that they're taking heed, that they're adhering to your words, and that they're taking the warnings and turning from every wicked thing, from every unclean matter, that they're turning from that which displeases you and going to that quiet place and choosing the best part, and that is to sit at your feet. The place where one goes to find a husband, the one that one goes to have relations with a husband, the one where one goes to be sealed with the seal of the living Elohim, not with looking at videos and listening to music. That's not the place to be sealed. The place to be sealed is sitting quietly at your feet. Quietly at your feet, where we can hear you, where we can hear your instructions. The place where, once again, one goes to find a husband and have relations with him, because a man, according to the Torah, cannot deny his wife marital rights, nor can the wife deny her husband marital rights. This is the place where we become one with you, where your name is written upon our foreheads, where we receive the seal of the living Elohim. But we must turn first. We must repent from every unclean thing. We must repent from everything that displeases you. We must repent from everything that is contrary to Torah. And we must be immersed in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach for the forgiveness of our sins. Because when we are immersed into your name, we are impaled with you. We are dying with you, and thus satisfying the penalty of death that was pronounced over all mankind because of the sin of Adam and Kuah. Thus satisfying that penalty, that judgment, through belief in you. And we are impaled in you when we're immersed in your name, and we are buried with you and raised and resurrected to the newness of life as a renewed creature, as a renewed wineskin. And as a renewed wineskin, then, renewed wine can be poured into us. Renewed life can be poured into us. The Ruach HaKadosh, the breath of life, can be poured into us. And it is here where we receive the seal of the living Elohim. And if we guard your word of endurance, and if we guard your word of belief, you have promised to keep us from the hour of trial that is soon to come upon this earth. It is my prayer that these words are not falling by the wayside, that they're not falling on shallow soil, that they're not falling amongst thorns, but that they are indeed falling on tilled, fertilized, broken up soil, made conducive to the planting of seed, such that your living water would come and water that seed and cause it to conceive life, to grow, to produce a branch, a tree, to cause that tree to grow, to become a mighty tree, producing fruit that leads to everlasting life, producing fruit that will lead to Mount Zion. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, so be it, so be it, so be it. For those of you on YouTube, once again, we're grateful that you've stopped by on this 4th day of our midweek gathering to spend it with us. Once again, if you have been stirred, and we pray that you have been stirred, we pray that you have been edified, we pray that you have been convicted, we pray that nakedness has been revealed, such as to cause you to go to the threshing floor, to go to the feet of the master, to choose the best place, to choose the best place, to slow yourself down, to unbusy yourself, to refocus yourself and to unbusy yourself and to sit quietly at the master's feet. This is my prayer. And it's my prayer, once again, if you have a desire to join us live, either during our midweek gatherings or on our Shabbat gatherings, once again, there will be an email address located in the video description once this video has been uploaded. If you have a desire to fellowship with us, either on our 4th day, otherwise called Wednesday, or our Shabbat gatherings. Until the next time that we meet, Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor unto you. Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the children of Yasharal, and I myself shall barak them. So be it, so be it, so be it. Shalom.